From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Well, let's dominate.
Ben Dawson, I need me some Ben Dawson. Lucky for me, you're here.
I'm right here. Let's do it.
All right. Mr. Dawson, we had somebody write in a couple times over the
Good.
years, and
Okay.
I think we haven't covered it perhaps as well as we should because I was in the paddock the other day, and somebody brought it up to me again. And so I thought, hey, I think that would be a great question for Dominating with Dawson. So I wrote into myself.
Great.
And I said, self. So code name Bill. Traction control. It's on most modern cars. Some of them are good. Some of them aren't so good. However, when
Sure.
you're relatively new to the track, when do you turn it off and when do you leave it on?
I mean, I think most people who come to the track have some sort of context to know that, you hear people talk about, oh, I still got the nannies on, or, I want to turn the nanny systems all off. And these people have seen Jeremy Clarkson complain about it on Top Gear or something like that, to have some
Yep.
sort of context about their own traction control. I'm fortunate enough to have been driving really analog vehicles for most of my time on track. In the mid '90s, Miata with no kind of traction control, and then we raced an E30, we raced an E36. So we're talking about cars that don't really have any kind of active traction control. But I've been in plenty of participants and students' cars that have that, and you know, I think it's all relative. If you have all that stuff turned off in a high horsepower car, you're gonna find the limit faster. You know what I mean? You're gonna
Mhm.
and find the limit by overstepping it. You're gonna kick the tail out or do all the things that the vehicle's trying to stop you from doing. If you have it on, it might mask some of the errors that you're making. It might kind of keep your car hunkered down, even though what you should have been, if you'd had all that stuff turned off, you would have been having a wreck. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a thorny question for me because I want people on track to be fully driving and in control of their vehicle, but I also don't want anybody to get hurt. I had a student one time who had, like, this is the mid 2000s ZR1
Mhm.
Corvette that had one of those ones that had the glass bubble in the hood and like a million horsepower. And this guy's like, yeah, I've done some circle track racing and stuff like that. I said, all right, great, let's go on down pit lane and get on out of here at VIR. And as we're going down pit lane, I'm like, you can go ahead and go, because he was just kind of bobbling down pit lane. I'm like, now's go time. Hit it, man. This guy just nails the throttle and the car turned completely sideways on us. But I mean, luckily from his dirt track experience or whatever, he kind of whipped it right back in shape and got going on track, and we had a great day. But that might have been one where if he had his traction control on or something like that, he might have caught it a little faster. Um, but I'm such a dumb on these kind of things. I don't really know what all goes into traction control and how it works. I know that there are levels of it that you can turn some of it off.
Yep.
You can think you have it all turned off, but then there might be some embedded in the code that you can never really get all the way off. So thankfully, I've only been driving like Fred Flintstone kind of cars that don't have it at all, because I don't know how to go get all the, like, go in and deprogram it or turn it off all the way or have it
Mhm.
partially turned off. I can tell you, I was fortunate enough to drive Danielle Tripp's Mustang at a track event one time, and we thought we had it mostly turned off or all the way off. And that thing, when I did something, at Ben Dawson speed, that thing yanked, like snatched the car around and like knocked me offline. You know what I mean? I was like, that's where I was trying to go. I was trying to do that. And this thing, the traction control is so disruptive on their like 2014 Mustang GT that
Yep.
it yanked me offline. So it's I think I'm kind of coming around to the idea that if you are able to, I think it's better to turn it off. Just have it off, learn to drive. What do you think?
So the correct answer.
All right, hit me.
I've driven a ton with first timers, brand new, relatively new. Because most of what I do is like the HPD one entry groups, and then a small fraction will be like HPD two, and another about the same fraction will be three, and then I even drive with fours. Um, just we tag in with each other and see what it is. If
Yeah,
you if you don't need it, this conversation is not aimed at you. I'm talking strictly for the new, strictly for the uncomfortable, strictly for the, maybe they're a little scared, maybe they love their car and they don't want to let go. So if it's your first day on track, let's say you're going to an event, and it's a 2-day event. I have zero issue with you having traction control on for your first time around the track. Okay. And then you can start to make a decision. And a lot of people, they just love their car and they don't want to have anything happen to it. So they just leave it on, which is fine. You can learn. If you start to think about turning it off, like Ben said, there's stages, right? There's full on, there's kind of usually like a half on, and then there's like a mostly off, and then there's off off. Any of those can be done, and you got to look at the track, look at the consequences of messing up, look at, some tracks you can just turn it off right from the beginning. You basically, the only thing you got to hit is grass or a cow. There's no
right,
wall. Then there's other tracks where if you go off, you are going to be paying a bill for your car and maybe for the track. So
right.
take that into consideration. Take into account how much of the car you like and how much performance the car has. But don't ever turn it off to the point where your ABS doesn't work if you're brand new.
Yeah, well, I think anybody, if you're lucky enough to have ABS, keep
Use
it
it.
on. It can be because you can use it as a competitive advantage. So
Yep.
I would never ditch ABS. If your car has it, use it because also it's your braking system is designed to have that as part of the braking components. So I would never go around ABS. If you have it, keep it on all the
Yep.
time, no matter
Yep.
who you are. Keep it on in the race. Keep it on in the track event. Keep it on the street. Keep your
Yep.
ABS on.
I've driven cars without ABS. It's not as much fun. Um, because when it goes
It's
bad, it
hard.
goes
It's
really bad.
harder.
It goes really,
It's
really
hard.
bad.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is take into account the conditions. Like, is it raining? Is it snowing? Is it raining at what Mid Ohio used to be? I don't know that it's better now, but it used to be an ice skating rink. Leave it on. just
Yeah.
just leave it on. And I'm talking like first weekend, first day, you know. I would say leave it on until you don't need it. Now, what I would say is if you leave it on, try to get to the point where either you or you and your instructor are paying attention to when it intervenes, because that'll tell you without your car getting out of control when you would have got the car out of control
Yeah.
without having any of the risk. So a lot of people that I've dealt with turn it off like second day after their warm up, or a couple people like two have done it first day, like third run. But there's nothing wrong with going through your first weekend and leaving it on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's okay, especially if you're just getting your sea legs out there. But yeah, eventually, I think it's ultimately going to make you a better driver to have those things turned off and to feel the
Yes.
limits in the natural way that they would occur between your tires and the track and
Yeah.
whatever grip your suspension package will allow you to have.
Yeah. The other factor you got to look at that I take into account is what car am I talking about? Am I talking about a 90s car? Or am I talking about a 2020 car with three, four, 500 horsepower, monster tires, and all that good stuff? And uh, while it is a surgical weapon on the track for somebody with experience, if you don't have experience, you can get into stuff real fast, real bad, and it won't be good. So if you've got a high performance car, especially if it's one that you like, um, keep
Yeah.
keep it on for a while, and you'll know when it's limiting you, and your instructors will know. And if the nanny, like I drove with one guy, he had, I'm not going to say the car, let's just say north of 500 horsepower. And
Right.
every turn, every time he went to the gas, you could see the light come on, traction control light
Oh
came.
wow.
And I'm just like, he's like, I think I'm ready to turn it off. I'm like, dude, you haven't had one turn where you haven't had it on at least 3 times. This would not be good right now. You are too much of a blacksmith and not enough of a surgeon. You are just,
Mm.
when you hit the pedal, you hit the pedal. And this car is like a nuclear weapon, and you are not being gentle, and it will bite you. So I did say it is your car. I think you need to leave it on.
Well, but Bill, how about this? How would you change your approach if you got in with that student the next session and said, "Hey, I turn everything off," and you got to ride with that person?
I'm
Suddenly,
I
it's more of a game of survival. Like, how do you coach that person in their right foot to say, "All right, well, let's go do it"? But how do you set limits? What would you do to express to that person that here's how we're going to approach this now that you got the traction control off on this 600 horsepower
monster.
Camaro or whatever?
Yeah. It was like 4,000 plus pounds, 600 horse. I was like, oh my God, this is not the car I want to be in. Um, we backed up our brake markers because the
Oh, so he
last,
did turn it off.
yeah, he did
Okay.
back up our brake markers and then worked our way forward. And I wanted him to be as smooth as he could with turn in. And I really wanted him to feel like a nice gradual application to the throttle.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I would mostly be talking about the throttle pedal in that situation. Do we got to go? Because also, that's going to teach that. I'm sure you ultimately taught that person to be a better driver. But one thing to consider in those situations too is as they get better and better and more refined with that approach, they're going to get faster and faster down the straightaway. So
Yep.
having that person back their brakes up to begin with,
Yep.
and then you can walk them up a little bit further. But that was a really smart strategic move to say, all right, we're going to start braking way earlier because you're going to need this sooner than later, and then we'll kind of work it up from there.
Yeah. I mean, we were, for the good or for the bad, we were the lead sled that was the fastest car in our HPD1 group. I mean, this car was just a beast. Great car, but way
Right.
more than I'd want to see for somebody on their first day on track. It was interesting. I mean, he did fine. He did everything safe. The brake pads actually got toasted because the car weighed so damn much. But um he did fine. It's just your first day, your first weekend is not the time to show that you're Ayrton Senna. Just learn the track, learn the
Yeah.
fundamentals. Don't sit there and try to break a track record, because the only thing you're going to break is your car or you.
That's a fact. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I pulled up to a track event doing the instructor's prayer. Please no Hellcat. Please no Hellcat. Please no Hellcat.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you drive in and you see somebody sitting over the Hellcat, you're like, that better not be my guy. Please don't be my guy.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of those. It's like, please don't be the Hellcat with the drag wheels, right? Please don't be a caged car with slicks in HPDU1. Please don't be that. And you know, there's a couple cars where I'm like, I don't know that I can fold up in those cars for an entire weekend. They're really small, because I'm not the smallest dude, and getting a NA Miata sometimes can be a bit of a challenge towards the end of the week, especially if they have the hard top going. It's like, oh, this is gonna be tough.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a rough one. They assigned me somebody with a Miata and a hardtop one time back when I used to drive a Miata with a hardtop, but this person had like an aluminum Kirky seat as a passenger seat, and it
hmm
was it was set way forward, and it was sized for about a 9-year-old child
oh,
because their instructor had been a bigger person than me, and I mean I'm 6 foot something, not svelte. And they were like, "Hey,
mm,
this guy can't get in there. Can you try this?" And like I remember trying to like rotate my hips sideways into that child's seat. I
yep.
think I made it one session. I was like, "This is miserable. This person's fine. Let them drive by themselves."
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
there's a whole bunch of stuff. I remember one time a friend of mine, he was instructing, and a guy had a old Cobra, like the 60s.
Oh
So
man, I got one of these too. Yeah.
so it had the hoop behind
Yep.
the drivers,
Mm-hmm.
but no hoop on the passenger. And he
Mm-hmm.
comes up to me and he's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "I ain't getting in that car." Just not
That
happening.
that lit that was literally my first student. So after I went through NASA instructing school, I couldn't stay that weekend. I could do the school, but I couldn't stay the weekend. So then the SVT Cobra Club was nice enough to let me instruct for my first time with them. Like this guy Tony Sorrentino was like, "Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere. You're officially qualified, so we need an instructor." So he said, "Go for it." I get there, and my student is this guy who's older than Methuselah in
Yep.
2010 or whenever I started. This guy was already 100 million years old. And we were all right. Let's go check out your car. We walk up, and it's this beautiful Cobra replica. Hoop for him, none for thee. I was like, nope, we're not right. He was like, oh, that's no problem. I got my 2010 Z51 or something. Like he had his brand spanking like brand ass new Corvette. He's like, we'll just ride this. I was like, yeah, the Corvette with the seatbelts and the fucking top, you knob. He was the worst student ever. Wouldn't listen to a thing I told him to do. It was horrible. I was like, "Is this what instructing is?" I quit. This is terrible. It was the worst. It was the worst like intro to instructing. First, he's like, "Let's get in this car that's going to murder you." You're like, no, we're not doing that. And like eventually, we had to like a bunch of us saw him trying to put that Cobra up on his trailer, so we all went and helped him because he was like getting all slewed off to the side. We eventually had to like put the jack up under the back and slide it over on the trailer for him. Like it was this guy did not have any business being at the track with his old ass. He was terrible.
We should have a Dominic Mendoza with bad instructor stories. We need a couple friends to come on and
Yeah.
some of the best things.
I could tell you, I'll tell you another one, just another bonus. I think my second ever instructing experience was this kid who had built an Acura Integra with like a 700 or some kind of 600 horsepower turbo engine.
Oh no.
And it like intermediate tires and okay brake pads, like sport brake pads. I mean, this thing would get up to like 160. He used to have 170 on the straightaways. I was like, and you could feel it. And he had standard like seat belts, like standard shoulder belts. And
Hmm.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't understand my agency as an instructor well enough at this time to go, okay, here's your limit. You can drive up to 5,000 RPM, and we got to back it off. Whatever it was, I didn't set any limits for this guy. I just thought I had to ride. I just thought I had to ride this missile and try to do my best to help him be a better driver. But luckily, he was his nannies would come on, like his engine management system would be like too hot or whatever. So we'd make it half a lap, and then it would like limit his RPMs down to like 2,000 RPM. I was like, oh man, what a bummer!
Bummer.
That came on again. He got limited. Your limiter came on again. Well, we'll just have to work on the line and not die because I can see like when that guy would get that thing up at full song, I could see my helmet buffeting. I could watch my helmet in his like in the passenger side rearview mirror. I could see my helmet buffeting outside the plane of where the window was. So I was like, oh, this is where my head's going to be when we're flipping. I
Hmm.
was just like, it was like I'm gonna die in this little passenger's car. He was an okay driver, but man, every time those nannies came on and slowed him down, I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And like the last session of the weekend, he lost his power steering pump or something like that. And all this smoke starts pouring out the vents. I was like, oh no. Well, pull off over here, pull off down this access road. I guess that's it for us this weekend. What a shame, man. That really is a bummer. And I was like, bail out of the car, like, oh God, get me away from this kid.
I think we've all had one or two of them.
Ooh, Lord. That guy scared the crap out of me.
Yep.
I was way before I had kids. That's for
All
sure.
right. So you know what I think we should do, Ben?
Turn the traction control off immediately, no matter who you are. Is that what we're saying?
That wasn't where I was going, but
Oh, okay.
I was
What do you have? What do you have?
I was skewing off towards where we just went. All our fellow instructors, please write in with some instructor
Please,
stories. I think we should have
please.
an instructor story time.
We should. We can even have an instructor conclave where we have several of our favorite
Exactly.
people who instruct get together and we can all just talk shit. I mean, I already told some of my best ones, but I could tell them again or
Yeah,
come
we
up
could
with
tell them
some
with more.
lies.
We could make more stuff. I mean, we could make them bigger. GarageHeroesInTraining at gmail.com. Can't wait for those instructor stories. That'd be fun.
Yeah, turn the traction control off. Get busy. Wreck that
Yeah.
car.
You
Whatever.
know what we should do though? We should not have Vicki on because she's going to be an instructor this year. We don't want to
Hey,
scare her
that's
away.
awesome.
We don't want to scare her away
Nah,
just yet.
I don't want to tell her all my extremely scary stories from the beginning of instructing.
Hmm.
Hopefully that's an uncommon experience. I encourage anybody who wants to instruct to look into it because we need more people in our sport. We need more cool people showing other folks how to do it. You know.
Yep. Because some of the people we don't want them showing.
There are some instructors out there who are some real turds,
Yep. Luckily,
Yep.
luckily not us, but whatever.
It's definitely not. It doesn't apply to me at all. But yeah,
Nope.
there are definitely some people out there doing it for the wrong reasons and wish they were good but aren't or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's always an ever rotating pool because people have kids, people get divorced, people be like, "Screw you, I don't want to do this anymore." So there are always more instructors needed. So if you have a calling or you feel like it might be fun, check it out.
Yep.
It's some of the most fun I've done. I love racing. I'm a racer through and through, but also instructing has been extremely rewarding and a fun pursuit. And
And
is
it helps you get better too, because you have to actually think about what you're trying to say as opposed to just
yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, if you're able to instruct without your analytical side ever coming out, then I don't know what's wrong with you. But yes,
Mm-mm.
you're right. It forces a lot of introspection and self evaluation too, which is a
I
good byproduct.
can't remember if it was the end of my first year or into my second year. I was just looking back going, I did not know all the ways you could screw up a turn that I have now seen. I'm like, I don't think I was this bad, but they're coming up with more and more ways to make this harder that I never even thought about. I mean, I'm sure I did other things wrong, but I was just like, where did that come from?
You really build up that muscle that makes your voice go break, 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 break. That
I
muscle
haven't,
really will get very prominent.
I have not had too many of those. I've only had twice where I had to get on the brake, guys. So I've had some great instructors. Thank you for all the associations for steering me clear of some of the nightmares that I've heard. But nightmare stories, GarageHeroesInTraining at gmail.com. Coming
Let's do
soon.
it. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, let's dominate.